What is up, Dan? And sideways, all you beautiful individuals. It is another epi of League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you guys for continued drama in the LCK and LPL. The script writers over at Riot and the LCK are going check for, you could call it the darkest or the most hilarious timeline, whatever it is. But Nongshim versus KT, this crazy ending to the LCK Cup group stage. You needed Nongshim to win this series, and they jump up 2-0, and we're immediately sweating. I think Hanwha Life is sweating the most at that point.
Yeah, because it is starting to turn around. It's still in favor for Nongshim in the series, of course, but KT getting one on the board for themselves. Game 3 looking like more so of the team that you thought KT would be. BDD popping off on the Ahri. You go to Game 4, a little bit more of the same from this one. You make it to that silver scrapes. But the Noodle Boys come through, and specifically, I'm going to give my props to Scout in this matchup because I think there's a lot to be continued to be talking about him in a starting position for this Nongshim squad. And after Game 3, where he is clearly just bodied by BDD in every single aspect of the game and isn't really a factor in Game 4, I would have been itching to go to Calyx to make a type of change like that and make a power move. They stick with Scout, and they are rewarded with a stellar performance in Game 5.
Yeah, he has his best game of the series in that 5th game, and the only reason we're at Silver Scrapes is, yes, BDD does some significantly heavy lifting to avoid getting swept, first and foremost, out of KT. But anytime there's a near reverse sweep happening, Game 5, you never know which way the momentum is going to go, and it was a roller coaster of a ride for aiming specifically in this series. You know, he had some great moments, getting caught out, cost them a Baron a couple of times, but really the theme throughout this whole series was a bot lane gap. More often than not, first blood was happening in the bot lane, whether there was jungle action or the straight up 2v2. Ghost gets, all of the starts outside of Game 1, and this is looking like a downgrade from Dom in Life. Even though aiming individually has had some solid plays, the support position was clearly an issue, especially when you're going up against an experienced, savvy veteran like Lehens today.
Right, and it's also one of the things that I think should be known about aiming, right? It is not necessarily this mystery product at this point in this career. You know what you are going to get with him and what you need to bring along with him, with your team, in order to prop up your chances of success. And one of those big things is an accomplished support, one that can bring the synergy and veteran presence alongside aiming to cover up for some of those short gaps, some of the positioning that you're going to have issues with that we know just over time. And it's not there on this KT roster team. So making this type of move never made sense to me in that swap in that bottom lane. And you saw it in this one, even though I think Taeyun wasn't at his very best in this series, you could absolutely be looking at Lehens and what he was doing, and that aspect, that combination, that is that bottom lane power, was greater than KT roasters throughout this series.
And a mega shout out, especially in Game 5. We got the World Finals MVP Kingen to show up. An Olaf first and foremost, even being picked in a game, but going opposite of Sion and a 1v4 to basically clinch the game for Nongshim.
Man, this was good, and this is absolutely something that I think I was, itching to call him out for. Kingen, looking at him this season and what was going to be available for him, what type of role we know he plays within this Nongshim team, I was going to issue that challenge and say, you can't just be satisfied with having your legacy of the career be hanging on to that DRX World Championship, World Finals, which, yes, it's a fantastic thing. There are phenomenal players that will never be able to hang their hat on something like that. But you got to want more. You got to have that hunger at this point still in your career to prove that you are greater than just that one single moment. And I think Kingen this year, this opportunity with Nongshim and succeeding in this series, never mind the Game 5 on the Olaf, yes, I think that this is a good sign for them.
How many teams have 2 World Finals MVPs on the roster? King and Scout both show up on the day, and now, of course, we have to check in on this dangerous path to Hanwha Life being eliminated first, so only 2 series left in this round. We know T1 needs to beat D plus Kiev. They'll be favorites in that matchup. If that happens, we wrap up with the Hanwha Gen G, and now with KT sitting at 2-3, if Hanwha gets swept by Gen G, bye-bye, guys. Not even making it to playoffs. If they lose 3-1, they only need a single game won, but they have to win that game in under 34 minutes and 42 seconds because of whatever the tiebreaker game time is. So it is getting down to the wire for the last 2 series of this section.
I love how specific it has to be. Where
it's
exactly 34 minutes, 40 so seconds or so right there. It has to be that specific in order for Hanwha Life to make it on through. And now, that specific scenario where you do need to take 1 game off of Gen G and it needs to be within that time window, that's not impossible. That's certainly a realistic time window that you could fit an actual game, a proper win against Gen G into that time frame. Then the other question becomes, well, what if you need to win 2 games in this series, and you win 2, and then you have all these other type of things going on, and it is unfortunate that it seems to be this year around bites Hanwha Life in the back, and they were absolutely the ones to maybe benefit a little bit from it last year, being able to eliminate T1 in that situation. So certainly a pain point, I think, continuing when you look at this format in the LCK, and one that I think at the end of the day, there's no way you're stepping away from this format, from this LCK Cup and going, yeah, I'm happy with where things fell out due to the scheduling.
And, I've seen people almost like already writing off Hanwha, assuming it's going to be a 3-0 for Gen G. Like, that's a little crazy, guys. It's not like Hanwha are bums on the Rift. Like, easily they can take 1 to 2 games against Gen G, even in the form that they're in, especially when, their backs are against the wall, but the fortune is still, their destiny is still in their hands. And it feels like even if they win, it's still sad that KT would be the team getting eliminated at this point. It's either way not great.
It doesn't matter that it is, whether it ends up being the premium prize of Hanwha Life or if it's the second runner-up in a KT situation. Either one of those squads saying goodbye at the end of January, beginning of February, until middle of March, essentially, when we see them again, if not April. That is wild, and that is a consequence, a penalty that is so severe for these organizations in comparison to where you then have to play catch up to keep pace with everybody else in your region and the experience and practice and everything else that you're picking up. That is almost impossible at that point. So for KT Roaster, a team that needed so many things to go their way this year, they're the ones getting ousted at this point. Absolutely titanic levels of problems.
Now, there's a chance that D Plus just decides to upend this whole thing. Say, that's not fair. We'll just beat T1, and then it's the 0-5 bros who are going home early, and you go, okay, that's probably as it should be.
Now, that, I think, is maybe the least likely of options that will happen and come through, but it absolutely isn't outside the realm of possibility when you do look at this matchup and some of the advantages that you can envision that you would have as T1. You can still see some counter punches coming through from DK, knowing some of the good signs that we have seen from them. Only problem with DK is, a lot of those good signs you see usually run up or come up empty when it is time to deal with a Gen G, with a T1, with one of the top dogs in the LCK. So we're going to have to hold out and see with that. But maybe the new look, the new young, the old T1 bot lane of Smash, maybe he's going to have some success in this one against T1.
I would have liked their odds even better if it wasn't a best of 5, because I think D Plus you take down a peg and T1 goes up one when you do get those extra sets of games to kind of showcase. The drama in the LPL, didn't have to wait long after the whole saga. Oh, look, it's just been starting again in the top lane against top esports, but this drama is far from over. Bin got some attention and some love early getting ganked. Top esports heard all about this and said, why don't we just tilt this guy from the get-go?
They were certainly ready for it, but I gotta say, even with all that preparation, even with that extra attention in that top side, BLG find a way to carve out a game one win, and things are looking okay. Things are going to be stable. I'll be honest, I wouldn't have even started Bin in this
Yeah.
game, given how close it was to the situation, to the incident. I would have absolutely given it some more time to breathe, to move into a different one and take a different opponent. Maybe you thought top esports, this will be easy, no Jackie Love, forgetting that yes, there are still other very accomplished pieces on this lineup. Mr. 369, Cream in the mid lane, still capable players that can make a move in the LPL. And you start to see that in Game 2 and Game 3 of this series as top esports come away as the victors. And it is the disaster scenario now for BLG as you have gone through this. It has become public. Everyone's talking, chatting about it, gossiping. And you drop the next series to top esports. Absolutely bad vibes going on with BLG.
This ain't JDG. This ain't anyone's legend that you're losing to. And, this looked like it was close to being a sweep for BLG. They go for this very early 21-minute Baron, and we see how much damage Baron does early in 2026. And Top Esports gets this 2v5 ace to get back in the game. Knight is trying his best on this rise in the second game, and we see the level up from Cream in this series. He has an abysmal Azir game 1, pretty good Talia, and then an Akali master class to clinch this series for Top Esports. And, it's a little sad because finally we have probably the best series Viper has had on BLG. Knight is popping off and you lose the series. I'm legit concerned. I mean, any loss is going to further damage any relationships with Ben and the rest of the squad, but this is going to become a distraction, and the level that Knight is at, Viper on the roster, you can't be wasting a single split for these guys.
It goes to what we're talking about, where this is one of those things where either you play it out with the substitute in the top lane for this series, you give it time, you build back to being back together, as this 5 with Bin in that starting lineup with some time away from this incident so that you can get a bit of a fresh start in that regard. You're not dealing with everyone's conversations around it. But no, you start them. You roll them right into it. You roll that dice, and you've come up short now. And now everyone's conversations are about, well, you put Bin back in and you failed against top esports. You faltered there, and it's only going to continue. And you look at this series. Yes, you had Viper starting to perform well. You have Knight continuing to deliver at a high level for this team. All things that you would very much look at as check marks, and you're taking Bin even on an average level as a given that you're going to be one of the dominant forces in the LPL. That's not even good enough at this point. So for this BLG squad, I'm absolutely sounding the alarms.
And it's so crazy because even Jun has come in and looked pretty solid for them. So there's so many good things, but the only thing people are going to be talking about is this drama on the top side. And if I'm some of the players, I'm saying, Ben needs some punishment. If all the rumors of how things are playing out, not even benching him afterwards, maybe they couldn't have got Wenbo in this emergency sub situation, but he better be playing some games forward because this is definitely not the last time we're going to be checking in on this drama.
Yeah, I think this is very clearly an opportunity or a case where you have to find that next best option. You got to start preparing for a potential life without Bin, whether that starts now or it starts next year, the year after, whatever. If you are BLG, I am absolutely starting my pivot plan right now, and part of that is investing other starts away from Bin.
It's quick turnaround. They're back on the very next day against IG. If BLG lose their 4th series in a row to IG, it doesn't matter who starts at that point. It's not going to be good times behind the scenes for that squad.
No, and especially knowing that, again, like every region, not maybe to the same degree as others, but you're on an accelerated pace in the LPL this split around. It's absolutely going to be at a blitzneck speed. You're not going to have a ton of time to reset yourself. That's why this series, taking the reset here, I thought was so vital for BLG in order to find the right footing for the remainder of this split in order to power yourself out. I see them stuck in the ditch here at this point, losing this series after what has been such an explosive week for the organization.
If they're in the ditch and lose to IG, that's rookie stepping on the face of the rest of the guys, pushing them deeper in the mud. But we also get JDG AL, an actual fun matchup over the weekend. This saga in the LCK, and we're in the thick of it now. Week 2 LCS, all the good stuff of the LEC. We'll be back to recap all these tasty matchups. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, absolute stunners. Thanks for hanging out as always. You know we'll catch you on that flippity flip.